Welcome to part 3. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Chapter 7. The Double Cross. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor to Sophia's penthouse. Eleanor Blackwood stood in the doorway, immaculate as always despite the early hour, her silver hair perfectly styled and her ice blue eyes sharp with intelligence. "Good morning, my dear," she said, sweeping into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. "I trust your evening was productive?" "Please, come in," Sophia said dryly, closing the door behind her uninvited guest. Eleanor moved to the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at the city below. Magnificent view. I chose this apartment specifically for its perspective. Sometimes it's important to see the bigger picture. "What can I do for you, Eleanor?" "Straight to business, I like that." Eleanor turned, her smile sharp. "I want to know everything about your conversation with Marcus Webb." Sophia had prepared for this moment, rehearsing her story during the sleepless hours after the gala. "He's interested in partnering with our family, just as you suspected. He asked about your operations in Asia, specifically your shipping routes and financial arrangements." "And what did you tell him?" "Nothing of substance. I played the role of someone who might have access to that information but wasn't willing to share it freely. I wanted to see what he was willing to offer in return." Eleanor's eyes glittered with approval. "Clever. And what did he offer?" "Money, primarily, and access to his network of contacts throughout Asia. He seemed particularly interested in your offshore banking arrangements." "I'm sure he did." Eleanor moved to the kitchen, helping herself to coffee from the expensive machine. "Marcus always was greedy. It's what made him useful, and ultimately what made him dangerous." "He mentioned that you had a history together." "We did. A long time ago when I was younger and more trusting. Marcus taught me some valuable lessons about the importance of keeping one's own counsel." "What kind of lessons?" Eleanor's smile was cold. "The kind that end with former partners losing everything they've worked for. But that's ancient history, see. What matters now is what Marcus is planning, and how we can use it to our advantage." "Use it how?" "By giving him exactly what he wants. Or at least, what he thinks he wants. You're going to continue cultivating his trust, feeding him information about our operations. Information that I will provide to you." "You want me to be a double agent?" "I want you to be whatever is necessary to protect this family's interests. Marcus Webb is a dangerous man, but he's also predictable. His greed will be his downfall." Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. "What aren't you telling me?" "Many things, my dear. But for now, you need to know only what's necessary for your role. Trust me when I say that everything is under control." After Eleanor left, Sophia sat in her borrowed luxury, staring at her reflection in the black coffee. She was caught in a web of lies so complex that she was losing track of who she was supposed to be working for. Eleanor wanted her to spy on Webb while feeding him false information. Webb wanted her to spy on Eleanor while gathering real intelligence. And Alexander wanted her to spy on both of them while building a case against his mother. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd started this as a con artist trying to infiltrate a wealthy family, and now she was genuinely working for them. All of them, simultaneously. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Cafe Luna, 2 p.m. Come alone. M.W." Double quote. Webb was moving faster than she'd expected. She checked the time. 11:30 a.m. That gave her just enough time to prepare. She arrived at Cafe Luna 10 minutes early, choosing a table with a clear view of the entrance and exits. The cafe was busy enough to provide cover, but not so crowded that she couldn't spot potential threats. Old habits from her days of running small cons and avoiding dangerous situations. Webb arrived precisely on time, dressed in an expensive suit that probably cost more than her father's monthly salary. He slid into the chair across from her, his pale blue eyes scanning the room before settling on her face. "Miss Laurent, thank you for coming." "Mr. Webb, I must say your message was rather mysterious." "I prefer to think of it as cautious. In my line of work, one can never be too careful about surveillance. And what line of work is that exactly? His smile was predatory. Let's just say I facilitate transactions that require discretion. Now, have you given any thought to our conversation last night? I've thought of little else. And Sophia leaned forward, lowering her voice. I'm interested in your proposition, but I need to know exactly what kind of information you're looking for and what you're willing to pay for it. Direct? I like that in a business partner. Webb reached into his jacket, pulling out a tablet. I've prepared a list of specific intelligence I need: financial records, shipping manifests, client communications, security protocols. The more detailed, the better. Sophia scrolled through the list, her stomach sinking. This wasn't just corporate espionage. It was a blueprint for destroying the Blackwood Empire from the inside. This is comprehensive, she said. I'm a thorough man. As for compensation, I'm prepared to offer you $5 million for the complete package. More if the information proves particularly valuable. $5 million. Enough to pay off her debts, buy her father a house, disappear somewhere safe, and start over. For a moment, she was tempted to take the money and run. But then she thought about Alexander, about the trust he'd placed in her, about the partnership they'd agreed to. She thought about Eleanor, manipulative and dangerous, but still somehow preferable to Webb's cold calculation. That's a generous offer, she said carefully. But access to this kind of information will take time. I'll need to build Eleanor's trust, gain access to her private files. Time is something I have in limited supply. How long are we talking? 2 weeks, maybe 3. I can't rush this without arousing suspicion. Webb's expression darkened. 2 weeks is too long. I need this information within the next week. That's impossible. Eleanor isn't stupid. She's not going to give me access to her most sensitive files overnight. Then you'll have to be more creative in how you obtain them. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. Sophia felt her pulse quicken, but she maintained her composure. What exactly are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that there are many ways to gather intelligence, Miss Laurent. Some more direct than others. I'm not breaking into her office, if that's what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm simply pointing out that creative solutions often yield the best results. Before Sophia could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at the screen and felt her blood turn to ice. The message was from Alexander. Don't turn around. Webb has people watching you. Act natural and meet me at the location I texted you yesterday. 1 hour. She looked up at Webb, who was watching her with predatory interest. Bad news? Just work, she replied, slipping the phone back into her purse. I should get going. Of course, but Miss Laurent? Webb's voice stopped her as she started to rise. I do hope you'll consider my suggestions about creative solutions. I'd hate for our partnership to end before it truly begins. As she left the cafe, Sophia could feel eyes following her. She forced herself to walk normally, to act as if she hadn't noticed the surveillance. But her mind was racing, calculating distances to exits, memorizing faces, preparing for the possibility that she might need to run. The location Alexander had texted her was a small bookstore in the arts district, the kind of place that seemed to exist outside of time. She found him in the philosophy section, apparently absorbed in a leather-bound volume of Nietzsche. How did you know? She asked quietly. I've been having Webb watch since last night. When he arranged this meeting, I knew he was moving faster than expected. He closed the book, his green eyes serious. What did he want? Everything. Financial records, shipping manifests, client lists, security protocols. He wants to destroy your mother's empire completely. And what did you tell him? That I'd need time to gather the information. He wasn't happy about that. Webb isn't known for his patience. He's probably already planning alternative methods of intelligence gathering. He mentioned something about creative solutions. Alexander's expression darkened. That's not good. Webb's creative solutions tend to involve violence. What do? We accelerate our timeline. I've been gathering evidence against my mother for months, but I need something concrete to take to the authorities. Something that will stick. What kind of evidence? Proof of the money laundering operation. Financial records showing the movement of illegal funds through our shipping operations. My mother is careful, but she's not infallible. And do you want me to get these records? I want us to get them. Together. The word together sent a warm feeling through her chest, but she pushed it aside. This wasn't the time for emotional complications. When? Tonight. My mother is attending a board meeting at the country club. She'll be gone for at least 3 hours. That should give us enough time to access her private files. And if we're caught? Alexander's smile was grim. Then we'll both be in more trouble than we can handle. But if we don't act soon, Webb is going to make his move. And when he does, a lot of innocent people are going to get hurt. Sophia thought about her father, about all the honest people working in the Blackwood factories and offices, about the employees who had no idea their livelihoods were built on criminal enterprises. All right, she said. Tonight. As they left the bookstore separately, Sophia felt the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. She was about to commit a crime that could land her in prison for decades. But for the first time since this all began, she felt like she was doing something right. The real question was whether she'd live long enough to see it through. Chapter 8. The Heist. The Blackwood mansion felt different at night. Shadows stretched across the marble floors like reaching fingers, and every creak of the old house seemed magnified in the darkness. Sophia moved through the familiar corridors beside Alexander, her heart pounding with each step. They'd entered through the servants' entrance, using Alexander's intimate knowledge of the house's routines to avoid the security cameras. Eleanor's study was on the 3rd floor, behind a door that required both a key card and a biometric scanner. My mother's paranoid, Alexander whispered as they climbed the back staircase. But she never considered that her own son might be the threat. They reached Eleanor's private office without incident. Alexander pressed his thumb to the scanner, and the door clicked open with a soft mechanical sound. The office was Eleanor's inner sanctum, all dark wood and leather, with a massive desk that had belonged to Alexander's great-grandfather. Behind it sat a wall safe that looked like it belonged in a bank vault. The files we need are in there, Alexander said, pointing to the safe. Financial records, shipping manifests, correspondence with Webb and other associates. Can you open it? I know the combination. I've been watching her for months. His fingers moved over the digital keypad with practiced precision. The question is whether she's changed it recently. The safe beeped once, then clicked open. Inside were rows of files, cash bundles, and several hard drives. Alexander began pulling out documents while Sophia kept watch at the door. This is it, he said, holding up a thick folder. Shipping records showing payments from shell companies, financial transfers to offshore accounts. Everything the FBI would need to. The lights suddenly blazed on, and Eleanor's voice cut through the silence like a blade. How touching. A mother-son bonding moment. They spun around to find Eleanor standing in the doorway, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits. Her silver hair was perfectly styled despite the late hour, and her smile was sharp with triumph. Mother, Alexander said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. This isn't what it looks like. Isn't it? Because it looks like my son and my employee are stealing from me. Her ice blue eyes fixed on Sophia. Though I suppose employee isn't quite accurate anymore, is it, Miss Chen? Sophia felt the familiar chill of being exposed, but this time she didn't try to maintain her cover. No, it's not. At least you're honest now. I do appreciate honesty, even when it's inconvenient. Eleanor stepped into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. You know, I've been expecting this for some time. Alexander has always been too soft-hearted for this business, and you, my dear, have been far too obvious in your moral struggles. We have evidence of your crimes, Alexander said, holding up the folder. Money laundering, tax evasion, conspiracy. Evidence? Eleanor laughed, the sound like breaking glass. My dear boy, you have papers that could be interpreted in many ways, but more importantly, you have no way to use them. What do you mean? I mean that Marcus Webb is dead. The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. What? Oh, yes, quite dead. Poor Marcus met with an unfortunate accident this evening. Something to do with his car's brakes failing on a very steep hill. Tragic, really. Alexander's face went pale. You had him killed. I had a problem solved. Marcus was becoming increasingly unstable. His demands were unreasonable, his methods too crude. He was bad for business. He was the only person who could corroborate the evidence against you. Exactly. Eleanor's smile was predatory. And now he's gone, along with most of the evidence of our past collaborations, which brings us to our current situation. She gestured to the two men flanking her. These gentlemen work for me in a capacity that requires absolute discretion. They're here to help us resolve this family matter quietly. Sophia felt her mouth go dry. You're going to kill us. Kill you? Goodness no, how dramatic. I'm going to offer you both a choice. Alexander, you can return to your role as my heir and successor, forget this foolish rebellion, and help me build our empire to even greater heights. In return, Miss Chen will be allowed to disappear quietly. New identity, new life, enough money to live comfortably anywhere in the world. And if we refuse? Alexander asked. Then you'll both suffer the same unfortunate fate as Marcus Webb. Accidents happen after all, especially to people who involve themselves in matters beyond their understanding. The room fell silent except for the ticking of an antique clock on the mantel. Sophia looked at Alexander, seeing the conflict in his green eyes. He was being offered everything he'd been raised to want: power, wealth, the family empire. All he had to do was abandon his principles and let his mother continue her criminal enterprises. There's a third option, Sophia said quietly. Eleanor's eyebrows rose. Oh? Do tell. We already sent copies of the evidence to the FBI. It was a lie, but delivered with such conviction that even Alexander looked surprised. Eleanor's expression shifted, becoming more dangerous. I don't believe you. Then you've made a mistake. Sophia stepped forward, her fear transforming into determination. You taught me that information is power, Eleanor. Did you really think I'd come here tonight without insurance? What evidence? You haven't had access to anything that could... I've had access to everything. Your computers, your phone calls, your meetings. I've been recording it all since the day I walked into this house. Another lie, but Eleanor's confidence was beginning to crack. You're bluffing. Am I? Then why don't you call your contacts at the FBI and ask them about the package that was delivered to their offices 3 hours ago? The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Finally, Eleanor spoke, her voice cold with fury. You little bitch, you have no idea what you've done. I've done what you taught me to do. I've survived. Eleanor's composure finally shattered. Kill them both, she snapped at her men. But as the two men moved forward, the sound of sirens filled the night air. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows, and the front door burst open with a thunderous crash. FBI, everyone on the ground. Please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned to part 4.